on the issue of moderators, there is some history on this. And one of the reasons that the commission holds the power, if you will, to name the moderators and guards that jealously is that prior to the existence of the commission, the two campaigns, this may have been back in '84, kind of did preemptory challenges on each other's lists, and they went through, I was told yesterday, they went through 170 names before they finally could agree on moderators. I don't think either campaign would agree to a moderator chosen arbitrarily by the other campaign. There has to be some agreement. And what I was told was that that Fahrenkopf's position was, we will pick the moderators, but it is not in our interest to pick moderators who are going to be offensive to one side or the other. In other words, they're not going to go out of their way to pick somebody who's going to be really hostile to Trump or really hostile to Biden, and they're looking for people in the media as moderators that would satisfy both campaigns. It could be tougher this year than it's been in the past, but that's their goal.
With all due respect to Mr. Fahrenkopf, who I do not know, all right, I just don't know him. He was born in 1939. He has no more business picking a moderator for Gen X and the millenniums and their future than any other person born in 1939. It is time to give over. This is an old commission made up of people who, remember their good old days talking to Truman. And, it's just, Dan, from your time at IOP, the world has changed. Our world has changed. Our broadcasting world has changed. And the arbitration model where you name one side names one and the other side names two. And when I wrote about this for the Post, I said, look, I'm happy with Lester Holt, Dana Bash, John Dickerson, but I want some variety because the questions never get asked. I've been watching this for years. I was a participant in 2016. The stuff I want asked never gets asked. And that's because the media, and I'll leave this to you to comment on, not intentionally, it just is left of center collectively.
Well, I think let me respond to let me not take on that question directly because we could have a long conversation about that. But the debates in the fall, unlike the debates in the primaries, have been structured differently by the commission, with the goal of having moderators who step back rather than inject themselves, who try to open up broad topics rather than a series of pinpoint questions. I take your point on modernizing. I mean, I think in all phases and including the debates, modernization is needed. I think the commission feels that they have tried to do some of that over the past few years. But your point's well taken that we need to find more modern ways of doing some of these things. On the other hand, the debates in the fall draw huge audiences. I mean, there's no question about it.
Oh, they're dispositive. Two words for you, and she's my friend, Candy Crowley. And another word for you, 80-year-olds working Zoom. You've seen 80-year-olds working Zoom, and you saw Candy Crowley. I don't have a case. I don't have to argue this case. Everybody in America agrees with me except the debate commission because they're invested in their power.
So what's the alternative? I mean, who would then host and structure the debates?
I like that the debate commission can figure out how to get cameras there. I think C-SPAN is the natural person to put them on, and I think the campaigns ought to name one moderator, the other campaign name the second, and those two people agree on a third. So you might end up with Rachel Maddow, Mark Levin, and John Dickerson because Maddow and Levin could agree on John Dickerson. And you know what, Dan? That would be a hell of a show. That would be good.
Well, have you talked to people in the Trump campaign about that?
I write it up for the Post. I just hope they read it, Dan. Dan Balz, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Follow him on Twitter at Dan Balz. Keep coming back, Dan. I'll be right back, America. Stay tuned.